And here it is, the new ride, my new daily, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Porsche 997.2 911 C4S. It makes me a happy man. This car makes me a very happy man. What a trade from the Model 3 performance to this. I've traded some speed in different ways, I guess. On the track, this would be faster. From a light, this would get its ass kicked. But I tell you what, this brings me from 0 to happy in 0 seconds flat. This thing is incredible. This is 2012 997.2 C4S. I was looking for either a 997.1 turbo, but then I decided it needed to be a little bit more dailyable, and if I was gonna get an automatic car, it has to be PDK, which is why I went for this. Speaking of PDK, let me tell you a little bit about what makes the 997.2 so special. Now, being an earlier version, well, to be more specific, the first generation with PDK, paddles were never a promise. You could end up with the steering wheel with the little buttons instead, and that was a very clear no-go for me. So I got the sport design wheel that has the paddles. What else? This car is fully optioned out. It has everything but the sports exhaust. A little bit weird. I know somebody would spec a brand new 911 at some point in history without a sports exhaust, but the more I use it, the more I realize that I'm not entirely sure I need or want it. As a daily, driving through the city early in the morning, I don't need it to be loud. I don't want it to be loud. I want it to be comfortable. This is more of a comfortable experience. It has the 18-way, 18-way or 16-way? They called it 18-way, but I've counted the buttons and it seems to add up to only 16. The seats are incredibly comfortable, incredibly sporty when you need them to be. There's a lot of bolster adjustments that fit me perfectly no matter how much weight I gain or lose, which seems to be happening all the fucking time these days. This car is the businessman's well-tailored daily use suit. It is the stainless steel Rolex of the garage. It is the usable everyday car that just adds a hint of luxury to whatever you have planned for the day. For example, it has things like the sport design 19-inch wheels. It has the sport chrono system, the metal sunroof, Alcantara roof or ceiling headliner. It has all the fancy little extras that you would add to a business suit that makes you feel a little bit more fancy. And my favorite option of them all, the rear wiper. I bet only 2 to 3% of the cars specs from this era, or even now, have the rear wiper. But you know what? I love it. I love it because it's weird. I love it because it's rare. This car has quite a lot of that. It's got the silver headlight surroundings, and inside it's got leather everywhere. So it is a little bit of an elevated version of a C4S, and for that it is not purely utilitarian, but I am going to use it daily. I am going to beat the shit out of it, and I am going to love it. I already do. And with that said, it is sporty enough without the sports exhaust. In the low revs, it is quiet, it is maneuverable around the streets. I'm not annoying anybody at 4 in the morning if I'm going for a shoot, and I'm not annoying anybody in the middle of the day if they're having lunch by the road. It is usable. That was the key word here, usable, because it is a daily. But having said that, it does have the 3.8 liter naturally aspirated big boy engine that was first introduced actually in the 997.2, I think. I think it was a 3.6 liter, I'm not entirely sure. And that, when it gets up to 7,000 RPM in the tunnel, is as loud as you need the car to be. Inside the car, you start to realize a little bit more about why this makes such a good daily. The seats are incredible. They are perfect for long drives, extremely comfortable, but the bolsters are super tight. There is no give left or right. So if I'm hooning this, as they say, it will keep me where I need to be. And there's something very comfortable about that, especially on a day like today where it's a little bit wet and I don't know what the car is gonna do. If I wanna drive it fast and sporty and fun, then it can handle that. I've never driven a 997 before I bought this car. The 997 is just one of the generations of the 911 that eluded me. I never got to it, nobody ever offered. And it's one of those that they sold so many of them, but you never really understood what made them special. Not until I drove it for the first time. And the first thing you realize is that the steering input is very heavy. It is very heavy, and the reason for that being, this is the last Porsche 911 ever made with hydraulic steering. There's no electronic steering assist. So when you're turning the wheel, you're physically turning the wheels. It's you directly through the wheel to the wheels. There's no motor helping out. It is a very tactile, very solid experience. It's very nice. You can feel everything in the road, every little bump mid-turn. You get direct feedback through the wheel, and there's something very, very satisfying about that. But if that's not tight enough, in sport, you have the PASM system. The 997.2 is the first 911 that introduced Porsche's active suspension management, which, well, in layman's terms, is an electronic system developed for the suspension that can shift, or that can sense the shifting of the weight of the car. So if you're throwing the car around quite a lot, it will stiffen the heavier side of the suspension. So you'll get a much more flat, less rolly, if that's a word, ride. So if we hit this little button, it goes into sport. That keeps the revs above 2,000, and it activates the Porsche active suspension management. And what a different car this becomes. It is a lot more, it makes me smile so much already. It is a lot more responsive, a lot more balanced, and it is a lot more playful. It becomes a much more serious tool. And to have that button in my daily driver is worth every penny I paid for this car. My God. The beating heart and soul of the 997.2 is one of the reasons people love the car so much. It is a 3.8 liter, naturally aspirated, 385 horsepower, flat 6 boxer engine. It is perfect. It is perfect. It does not need a turbo. There's no reason to add more power to this. 400 horsepower is all you're ever going to need on a public road, and you can get 400 or 405 with the M51 Power Pack, I think is what it's called. Not that I would need it or not that I want it. I think 385 for a daily is plenty. I have a lot of fun with that, but it's good to know that I could. Part of what makes, or a big part at least when you live in Norway, of what makes a Porsche 911 such a dailyable super driver. Everybody keeps throwing around that term that it's a super driver. Super driver? What the am I talking about? That it's a supercar that you can drive daily is the ride height. I mean, it's a sports car with a significant ride height, and we're doing 20, 30 kilometers an hour on this back road, super bumpy. Zero nerves about having to bottom this car out. It's not like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or even like a Miata or something where you're a little bit nervous. This car just handles it. And there it is, the Porsche 911 997.2 C4S, my new daily driver, and it is good. It is good, if not great. And I mean, what else is a Porsche 911 for? It is great. Probably the most boring of the superlatives, but it's probably the most boring spec of the 911, and that's why I love it. It's got everything you need for a daily. Maybe not the best on track, maybe not the most comfortable for long trips, but it's a jack of all trades, and that's what you want from a C4S. Four-wheel drive, reliable engine, extremely loud when it needs to be, and extremely fun when it needs to be, and extremely boring when it needs to be. It's a great car. Oh yeah, by the way, if you like this, then make sure you prove it to me by clicking the like button. And if you want to see more, subscribe. And if you feel so inclined or want to correct me on anything, then comment below. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace. I didn't walk very far, I just walked over here. I didn't go anywhere, but I'll see you in the next one.